Yo, what's up, honkers? Today we're going to be watching The Depressing Reality of Being a Small Cat by Casual Geographic. And I don't know about you, but being a small cat... I'm doing this intro while I'm streaming, by the way. And they really want to throw stuff at me. But being a small cat seems really nice to me because, you know, they get fed all the time. Someone can clean up your bathroom for you. I don't know. I think that sounds pretty good. Other than...
We love cats.
Yeah, they love cats. Anyways, this video's secret word is Tom. Comment the secret word down below and I will give it a heart. God. I hate y'all sometimes, I swear to God. Anyway, let's get in today's video.
Write this down. If you go outside, right? You go outside and you don't find a cat there. You have not gone outside.
True.
You've gone to hell.
Oh.
Or the poles, which is the same thing, just frozen over.
Okay.
From the desolate dunes of the Sahara to the wilds of Houston, Texas. Cats have colonized virtually every aspect of this planet. There is no animal that's gotten more mileage out of humanity just by being itself. And you can tell, because where wolves would have treated us like the plague if they knew pugs were down the line, 99% of people can't tell which cat belongs in a pet store. Thanks for unpausing. It's none of them. And believe it or not, that might just be what kills them. Because 99 is also the percent of wildcat funds that have gone to tigers, jaguars, and other big cats. Big cats are like the football flex of a D1 school. They'll never not have funds for new uniforms and infinite DoorDash. Meanwhile, engineers sleep in bedbug-infested abandoned bomb shelters. The other cats are so cute it kills them. Because most of the public is impressed about the population of something that looks like you can find it in an animal shelter. One cat might already be in the genetic gulag because of it. So this video is about the small cats. For their sake and yours, because no one ever said there were too many cat videos. Pure Spite already made me talk about the difference, but the short version is big cats are cats that can roar. Somehow snow leopards slid by. Basically, a modified hyoid bone is what gives big cats the ability to evacuate your bowels. So whenever someone tries to argue cheetahs, I just let the cheetahs speak for themselves. Because vocal Viagra to a bird watcher does not a big cat make. Cheetahs are built like the work of a malicious genie. They wanted to be the fastest so bad, now they speed run through life. Being the fastest thing on legs gives them a respectable success rate. But that success gets nerfed when about 10% of their kills gets taxed by lions, leopards, and especially a predatory laugh track. And unlike leopards, their claws and conflicts are both non-retractable, so cheetahs can't even do the cat thing and climb from their problems. We used to think cheetahs ran so fast their brains overheat after, when really it's the stress of knowing they're a main character visit away from having concepts for dinner. Or maybe it's the anxiety of their last hookup possibly being a blood relative, since the spotted format survived not one, but two major bottleneck events, largely by keeping it in the family royal style, which is why the current cheetah gene pool is more like a puddle, and not even yeast is that inbred. Cheetahs are so anxious that many in zoos have emotional support dogs to serve as role models for the high-strung balls of evolutionary apprehension. Basically, seeing their dog stay calm helps keep the cheetahs chill, and even gives them the confidence to do things like make more cheetahs. But as easy as it is to dunk on cheetahs, it's really not their fault. Being faster than the speed of light has a ceiling when you live in darkness. And the cheetah is essentially an overgrown high-speed house cat in the shadow of lions and leopards. But cheetahs do get props for fully committing to speed with the aforementioned non-retractable claws, ridiculous lung capacity, a flexible spine that makes the scoliosis in mind scream, and even a built-in tail rudder for steering that honestly looks like antelope aimbot. Plus, they'll always have my respect as arguably the most underappreciated single mothers in nature. Especially since male cheetahs often reject paternity to go run with the boys. Coalitions to hunt and travel in. So while I don't approve of exotic pets in like any form, if there's one predator begging to go the way of the wolf, I'd have to vote for the Ferrari feline. The serval took what the cheetah did for speed, but for jumping. The serval's been called the Frankencat.
Oh, dude, that looks so weird.
Looks like a bunny. I probably could convince you that this isn't a filter. Each ear can rotate 180 degrees independently, and wearing a Mickey Mouse headset means they can pinpoint the proverbial needle in the less than proverbial haystack. But it also means they file a noise complaint every time someone thinks for themselves.
What does a serval sound like?
Jokes, but surely he's heard them all before. Besides, it's far more freaky that servals have the longest legs relative to body size size of any cat. And once you see it, like anti-fascists, you'll never not see it. It's
Yeah,
what gives
it's like-
servals what many call video game bounce, as they can leap up to
Holy
12
crap.
feet in the air. But it also makes the ones that come in all black
12
look like a
feet?
cryptid. They're one of the
Oh,
most efficient
whoa.
cat hunters, with a success rate of about 50%. They're also
God
efficient
damn.
at conflict resolution. When two males get into a territory dispute, they'll aggressively emote while they'll size each other up while placing a paw on the rival's chest. It
Oh,
usually
interesting.
doesn't escalate
They
to
don't, like,
violence,
fight?
just a stare off, where the
Interesting.
winner stays standing and the loser eventually retreats. How to figure out who is beyond me, and if you bring one into your home, expect de-escalation aimed at your cat. Many don't stop at if, with folks mixing a serval and a domestic together to make a savannah cat. I don't like
yeah,
pug.
the savannah.
I can't say I approve of them as a concept, but I guess it's
Yeah.
better than people playing house with an actual wild serval. Doing it
Yeah,
with a non-domesticated nope makes even
Yeah,
less sense.
fuck that
I've seen
thing,
many
dude.
videos of a caracal in someone's
Big
house, but not
flapper.
one where he seemed happy about it. The caracal is also called the desert lynx, but let's be real, we all know him as flapper, named appropriately
Yep.
after their ears. It's still up for debate what's the actual purpose of the pigtails. Some say it's to mimic insects and therefore catfish hunting birds, or to blend into the surrounding tall
flapper.
grass. But the theory I'm going with is having graduation tassels on the ears is for nonverbal communication with other caracals. They can
Oh.
sidestep or invite social interaction
could be
with
it.
just a swipe of an ear. Because whenever you see something questionable in nature, the safe bet is to assume somehow baby making's involved.
Bro,
They
what
have
the
20
fuck?
muscles in those ears, and like a serval, can move them around to eavesdrop on prey like a satellite. Caracals are the coyotes of cats. Against a bigger cat, they're cooked. But turns out, caracals are
Right.
much better at city living than them. With Cape leopards getting 404'd by humans, the caracal has become the apex predator of the Cape Peninsula, shout out to Cape Town, which is a big problem for one particular bird. The caracal also has turbo thrusters for legs, and the sky lynx jumps
yeah.
high enough to be a hazard to flying birds. So
That's
the worst thing
crazy.
you can do is show them one that can't fly. Caracals moving into the urban has also introduced them to colonies of Cape Town penguins in the thousands. It's
Oh,
like a fat kid in a
no.
cake store, and they act accordingly. One caracal managed to spend a year in the colony as a fugitive, murking an estimated 260 penguins before eventually
God
getting
damn.
caught. This literal hissy fit is an accomplished predator, and for some reason, a popular pet. But the tsunderes might be the New Yorkers of cats that communicate in aggression even when they're calm. But like the serval, the caracal is better as an air toll to birds than an ouch on your couch.
Yeah,
the
nah.
serval and caracal have a lot in common. It's because they share lineage, and they also
Would y'all
share
ever have a big
the
cat like
African
this?
golden
Let me know in the
a cat very
comments,
few
'cause,
people have ever seen. They're
like,
found only in the rainforest of
I
Central
don't know,
and West
man.
Africa, and they look
I'd
like
rather
a
not
careful
end up
nature tried
breakfast
redrawing
for a
strictly
cat.
from memory. The lynx left behind is one of the least studied cats on Earth, and not for a lack of trying. Leila Bahaeldin spent 4 years attempting to find an African golden cat, and in total she found one by accident. It's less impressive that she spent 1,400 days waiting on a cat, more so that she didn't drop her camera and fumble the first chance she got. I know I would have. It's
That's
likely
so
this
cool.
incognito cat is a result of them
It looks
sharing
like
an area
a
code with leopards.
leopard,
Studies
yeah.
found that golden cats will actively switch to smaller prey if they happen to be in the hunting territory of a leopard. There's also the Asian golden cat of
what?
Asia. He looks like a
Asia?
travel-sized tiger and has the nickname Yellow Leopard. They were actually named after Dutch zoologist Konrad Jacob Tenmink. Well, my
Ooh,
condolences,
that
Konrad. I'm
pattern's
not
so
saying
pretty.
all that again. So that's an Asian golden. They share a name, but their ancestors split up millions of years ago, and they're not even each other's closest cousins. We also have the African wildcat. To be fair, he
It's
is.
just a cat.
There's also the Asiatic and European wildcat. And
Bro,
fun
those are
fact,
just cats.
The European wildcat's scientific name is how the Looney Tunes Sylvester got his.
Those
If
are
you have
straight
a
up
pet
just
cat,
cats.
Though, direct your gratitude to the African variety, as they're the ancestor of yours. About
That
10,000
makes
years
sense.
ago, the African wildcat domesticated itself in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East. You see, when humans were nomads, there wasn't much care for a cat, but once we switched to farming, the mouse-murking whiskered one became an asset, and just like that, the cat secured arguably the best possible job for itself. And since the cats barely had to change their playbook, the African wildcat is a dead ringer for something you'd find in the average American house.
Yep.
Which is a big problem for the other wildcat. The European cat can also be confused for a kennel jockey, at least until you take them home.
Kinda
as
does.
European wildcats are
look so
notoriously
fluffy.
impossible to have as pets. Naturalist Francis Pitt didn't buy the untrainable label and attempted to hand-raise one named Satan. Satan is like an indoor ratio that gives
Satan.
Francis an experience befitting his name. Wildcats don't just dislike humans. European wildcats and domestics have been avoiding each other for about 2,000 years. But by the 60s, the wildcat population flirted with zero, which likely led to them and domestics humping hybrids out. It's kind of like how wolves were once so down
okay.
bad that they settled for coyotes, and now we got coy wolves. Except with European wildcats, the effort succeeded in polluting the pure wildcat gene pool, with very few of them left. They've nearly literally screwed themselves out of existence. And good luck rallying support when the average person sees its doppelganger on their yard every day. There's also the Asian wildcat, also known as a desert or steppe cat. Same story as the other two.
These are just kitty cats.
There's something inexplicably satisfying
straight up.
This
That's
one.
so
Maybe
weird.
it's the sand coat seasoned with marks to help break up its outline. Their existence is proof that I could never cut it as a cameraman. Put this in my sight, I would lose all professionalism and likely my lips myself out of a job. Yeah. They have nothing on the deadliest cat on the planet, which it isn't actually him. Didn't I say this wasn't a big cat video? Weighing about a bag of flour, the black-footed cat is the smallest cat in Africa. Aww. It's also pound for pound the deadliest. They'll pack up more prey in one night than a leopard will in 6 months, and they'll life deprive up to 14 animals in that night.
It's so tiny though.
Well red bottoms. They have the highest kill rate of a cat, one that doubles lions, and is believed one cat can erase 3,000 rodents in 1 year. The assassin, named the anthill tiger, has to kill up to 20% of its body weight in prey a day just to fuel its metabolism. They have 3 ways of stacking bodies: the fast hunt, where they essentially overstimulate their prey by rushing around until they flush them out; the slow hunt, where they stalk the scenery and wait for a snack to expose itself; and the sit and wait hunt, which you don't need a description for. Another reason I'd much rather talk about animals in front of a camera than record like those from behind one. I don't have the professionalism for that. Now we get to one of my favorite cats, the sand cat. As arguably the second smallest cat, they have no business being the badasses nature intended. They live in a limitless litter box that can reach 115 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, just to drop to negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's like a mix between a fox and a
sand
cat.
Cats don't need water. The blood of their victims is sustenance enough. The Sahara warrior can go without water longer than a camel because they get what they need from their prey, which often means leaning on their blood. Blood that washes down the venomous snakes the sandcat will headshot and eat. But the biggest headache goes to anyone trying to find them. Sandcats have furry foot pads that protect them from the scalding hot sand, but it also means that they're untraceable? Also, they spend most of the day underground and at night hunting throughout its range, with some cats covering as much as 8 miles in a little over 24 hours. But even by the grace of God, if you stumble into one, you can still blindly walk by your blessing, since sandcats will famously close their eyes at night when a human approaches, so they can't be clocked by their eye glow. So if you ever see a sandy cat in the wild, say thanks, because that's entirely the cat's discretion. They're so adapted to live in the most unlivable place ever, they actually struggle when you take them out the trenches. The same respiratory system designed for Satan's sandbox is prone to infection outside the desert. You wouldn't want one in your house anyway, since sandcats primarily communicate through golden showers. And if you know about desert animals, the smell of their urine would have them kicked out. Still one of the cats of all time. And on the other side of the spectrum is the fishing cat. Not to be confused with the fisher cat, which is neither. Unlike them, the fishing cat actually earns its
it actually goes in
places
where's the water?
Interesting. India and Bangladesh, the aqua kitty can dive and swim long distances. And they fully committed, with partially webbed feet, an aerodynamic head, and claws evolved in the form of fish hooks. Basically the fish terminator, with about 76% of a fishing cat's diet coming with gills. They spend most of their time in shallow water, waiting, and they'll even flick the water surface to mimic insects in order to fool the fish. They're capable climbers too, and scientists have clocked them snatching baby birds out of nests. Fishing cats might be the feline raccoon equivalent, as they've slowly been moving into city areas of places like Sri Lanka. It's not that out of place to be walking down the street and see a feline fisher hunting. Bruh,
if you see one of these things, that's kind of creepy.
Rooftops and in attics. Really a catastrophically, no pun intended, underrated cat. And that's actually a problem. They're vulnerable. It's just that most people don't even know they exist, so they get shafted on funding. The flat-headed cat is even less known, and honestly, they got hoed hard body. If we would have found them first, they probably would have taken the fishing title. Up to 80% of a flathead's diet can be fish. And those eyes that are almost uncomfortably close together give it perfect binocular fish flatlining vision.
They look like
their toes are more webbed than the alleged fishing cat. But this Auburn aquatic got stuck with flat-headed. Yeah, no, I'd be mad too. Maybe if they had a cuter name, more people would care about the fact they're likely Southeast Asia's most endangered cat, with less than 2,500 left in the wild. Not like the leopard cat. They're privileged enough to have 2 flavors: the Sunda leopard cat and the mainland leopard cat. In
One
fact,
of them has
they're the
big
most
old
widespread
eyes.
wildcat in Asia, found from India all the way to North Korea and China. Also, shout out India. They got the most types of wildcats in their country, with a record of 15. The leopard cat is also a swimmer and has been known to colonize islands. Disgusting greed. In fact, there's a leopard cat variant that only lives on the Japanese island of Iriomote, with possibly under 100 left in existence, making it arguably the rarest wildcat. The leopard cat exists in many forms, so of course folks done turned it into a pet. The Bengal cat is the result of a leopard cat and a domestic baby. Apparently the creator's logic was if
that's what a Bengal is?
Looked like a leopard cat, less people would buy the real thing. I don't know if I like that logic. I think there's enough cats. That being said,
there's
bro
so
got that
cats.
on. The Borneo Bay cat is a familiar situation, but instead of Iriomote, the only place you'll hypothetically find them is in Borneo. Hypothetically, because the bay cat is basically a living theory.
Bro,
they've only been recorded less than 100 times in history, and between 1874 and 2004, only 12 bay cat bodies have been studied. They straight up disappeared for 60 years, because after being discovered in 1856, by 1928, they seemingly fell off the face of the earth.
Weird.
That was until someone pulled up to the Natural History Museum in Sarawak in 1992
Whoa.
with a bay cat. Since then, we haven't learned much. We really don't know how they hunt, what exactly they hunt, how they raise their kids, how they make their kids, or even what their niche is. There's few existing
It's like a weird monkey cat.
This is the best quality pic you're gonna get from a cat that dipped on reality for 6 decades like Captain America. The jungle cat is another one named out of misunderstanding or spite, since they live almost anywhere except the jungle. Also called the reed or swamp cat. You'll find them on the hunt in tall grasses, swamps, reed beds, dry open forests, but never
like a lion,
of course, where they're an all-around athletic flex of a Furby. They can air snatch birds, climb trees, catch fish, and have even been clocked swimming up to a mile. They usually grief mice and fowl, but will also pack up cobras and sometimes even gazelle. Wow. In the country of 1,000 cats, jungle cats are the most common one in India.
Really?
And just remember, you're more likely to find one on a university campus in Bangladesh than anywhere near a jungle. Now, what y'all know about the marbled cat? It's a pint-sized monkey of a cat, somewhere in the forest shadowed by the Himalayas, where the marbled cat has been found as high as 12,500 feet, or almost 17 Golden Gate Bridge towers above sea level. It's another one of those cats you only ever run into by accident, since the marble cat spends almost its entire life in the trees, moving like a most cats are like predatory spider cat.
Yeah, they let you see them if you want.
Of PTSD on the primates they prey on. Ironically, the less than 10-pound marble cat almost stole itself a spot with the big cats, with them once considered panthers. And now we get to one of my favorite
cute
cats
little
of all
predator.
time. Look at this dude. The clouded leopard is like a cat forgotten by time.
Look how big his little snout is. From an
era long left behind. The clouded leopard is considered the missing link between big cats and not big cats. Mostly because, like cheetahs, they talk themselves out of the big cat spot.
Don't so.
That is an apex predator, one that's about 3 feet long. I swear I thought they were jaguar sized as a kid, but that's probably because the first time I ever heard of one, it was trying to turn the rugrats into baby coffins. They are the closest thing to a modern day saber-toothed tiger, not by DNA, but by virtue of having the longest canines relative to body size of any cat. Like the leopard cat, the clouded leopard has a Sunda and mainland variant. While this photogenic fossil has never attacked a human, they're a threat to literally everything else. And with ankles that can rotate, and not just in the Gordon Hayward way, they can climb down trees head first like a squirrel, or upside down, because when you're apex, you just start trying shit. They're even a danger to each other. They're one of the hardest cats to breed because males often kill their mates in the process.
Why?
Less than 20% of cloud cats in captivity are successful at mating, making them the panda of cats. But if you were expected to drop trow and make a beast with 2 backs with a complete stranger in a room full of voyeurs, you'd be less than cooperative too. It doesn't matter the size or the looks they serve. A cat of any kind is a savage to its core. And look no further than this guy. The rusty spotted cat is called the hummingbird of cats, and they're another one that could spawn in a pet store and no one would blink. That is until it murks everyone else. The rusty spotted is a highly skilled assassin that'll pounce on prey from the trees, and I really wish I had footage of that. 19th century T.C. Gurdon kept the paperweight predator as a pet that earned his respect by hunting the squirrels in his house. The cat more when T.C. caught it attempting to choke out a gazelle by clamping on its neck, and the cat had to be physically removed from the now surely traumatized gazelle. That doesn't change the reality that this cat would get my credentials confiscated if I ever had to film one. I wouldn't have that problem with this one though. Not because he's not cute, but because he looks terminally unenthused by life and I don't want to add to it. The palace cat, also called a Manul, is in a perpetual state of ain't shit funny. They actually learn to growl before they even open their eyes. They're born beefing with life, and believe me, they have their reasons. Maybe it's because their choice of home can be negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter, all the way up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit come summer. Or it might be the fact that living in God's waiting room with exposure to pathogens means palace cats are highly susceptible to getting folded by disease when they leave the mountains. It's possible it's because their mating ritual involves the male just following around the female for days until she's ready. Something I'm sure neither's happy about. Or it could be their scientific name being ugly-eared cat. I challenge you to find a picture of a palace cat that looks happy. This is the closest I could get. Just a temperamental ball of laundry lint that will use its tail as a blanket and will even stand on it to warm their feet. Speaking of which, the Manul is actually the size of a house cat. It's just having the densest fur of any cat gives it an adorable
thick motherfucking boy.
A palace cat is notably afraid of humans and will go out of their way to avoid them, unless you feed them. You could never convince me not to love me some palace cat. Not even a palace cat itself. You could fix your face though. Honestly, this cat has a lot more to be mad about. The Chinese mountain cat is only found on China's Tibetan plateau, where they're very much unknown. Few of them have actually been studied, and the biggest threat to them is that most people don't even know they exist. Show this to the average person, and they'll just assume you're one of those cat people. They'd never know that there's less than 10,000 in stock, and it's all humans' fault. The Chinese mountain cat has an extreme hike of prejudice. So when China started poisoning them, the Chinese mountain cat caught a nasty stray. Today, most of what we know about them is from captivity, and the only time we ever seem to find them is by accident. In 2018, Hong Shang-shi of the Shang-shi Conservation Center was studying black-necked cranes when she randomly made eye contact with a shiny Pokemon of cats, which means someone probably spent years searching for him just to get shown up by a glorified bird watcher. But if that ain't the most cat thing a cat could do. The biggest problem with being this cat is no matter how endangered you are, your death will never hit as hard as an elephant's or a panda's. Just be glad you got to see this one. There's no missing a cougar though. One, because it's a small cat that could mog some of the big ones. They vary in size and actually get bigger the further they get from the equator, but most males sit around 130 to 160 pounds.
They pack you up,
Some can clear 200, and in 1979, a hunter brought down one weighing 276 pounds. Cougars also have the most extensive range of any American animal, and a prey base of about 500. Garfield on steroids is liable to murk moose in the Yukon, and rodeo ride guanacos in Chile. Cougars are the CrossFit freaks of cats, with Olympic medaling bounce while being able to swim a mile and travel over 1,000. They also might be the most ethical killers. They're a predator with a preference not to scavenge and would rather eat what they kill. Cougars are also way more generous than anyone thought, with many being caught sharing kills with other pumas. From 2012 to 2015 in Yellowstone, 118 interactions were recorded between at least 2 cougars, and 60% of these occurred at kills, and many of them involved sharing. In fact, there's a scene from Our Planet where a teenager who just left his mom attempts to steal food from a giant mountain of a male twice his size, and in a complete plot twist, the old man let the little one slide. But there's one predator that gets absolutely no love from cougars. Because mountain lions and wolves have a blood feud, where wolf packs will gang up on any lone lions, but one-on-one, mountain lions commit first degree on a wolf. Recently, there's been more of a trend of mountain lions stalking, jumping, and murking wolves on sight. Since 2013, cougars have been responsible for 30% of documented wolf deaths in Washington. Wolves also have beef with the lynx, but the wolves tend to do a lot better with that matchup.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
There's 4 flavors of lynx:
a little bit bigger.
The Eurasian lynx, Iberian lynx, Canada lynx, and the bobcat lynx. The Eurasian is like the big cat of Europe, or the closest they have to one at least. They're notoriously one of the most difficult cats to track, which is a crime with a face card like that. There's many subspecies of the Eurasian persuasion, but the rarest might be the Balkan lynx, with fewer than 50 left in stock. The Iberian lynx is also one of the rarest cats, mostly cause what Pika are to a mountain cat, rabbits are to the Iberian, and the rabbits dying to disease and overhunting nearly put the predator in a pack. They were down to about 62 left alive in 2001, but have since bounced back to about 2,400 as of 2024. The Canada lynx is the ultimate specialist, specializing in being the Grim Reaper to the horseshoe hare, which can make up 97% of their diet. The evolutionary arms race with the hare is likely why the Canada lynx has what we call proud family feet. But the most notable thing about them is their arguments are probably why the Appalachian Mountains have the reputation they have.
Bruh. Calm down.
Then there's the bobcat, which I learned way too late in life is just a lightweight lynx, named after their short, stubby, truncated tail. Is that out of pocket? Would naming this guy Toby or Robert be? Decide. Bobcats aren't just the most common wildcat in America. They have one of the longest grocery lists too. They'll hunt rabbits, birds, mice, squirrels, but will also fish for salmon and sometimes try and solo deer. One bobcat was caught dragging a shark out of the ocean, and before you ask, of course it's
I've seen one
Another was caught attempting to bully
like a baby
black bear
alligator
out of food. The lynx is dangerously close to being considered the honey badger of cats. They're just a castration claim away. You know, I almost forgot to mention, the cougar also shares distant lineage with the cheetah, but its closest relative is a Jagarundi, or dark jaguar, even though it looks like a self-hating weasel. I feel bad for them. Because their ranges overlap, they're definitely aware of cougars, and knowing that's what your closest cousins got blessed with is like evolutionary rage bait. It's like the Maine wolf and bush dogs. just remarkably unserious. The Jagarundi moves like an animal that should only exist in black and white film, but being built like an identity crisis otter actually helps them hunt without being put on a shirt themselves. The first Slinky's able to slip through dense undergrowth while avoiding other cats, which they're really good at. In fact, they coined the phrase, the ocelot effect, which means if you see an ocelot, you know you won't find a Jagarundi, because the former bullies them into hiding. But apparently the biggest threat to a Jagarundi is being mid. According to researchers, the problem is they're not the biggest cat, they're not the smallest, they're not even the biggest of the smallest, they have no spots, no stripes, they're not especially endangered, just a remarkably unremarkable cat. In fact, a lot of times they get caught on cameras when the lensman was checking for someone else. Even their name isn't that original. I really hate that for them, because a Jagarundi's dope enough on its own. They deserve better. Same with the Andean mountain cat. They're endangered, and finding this cliff kitty in the wild would mean psing in the Andes mountains as high as 12,000 feet. It's beauty that'll take your breath. That is, if the altitude leaves any left. We don't know that much about this cat, and that has to be the 6th time I've said this in this video. And that's the problem. They also prefer death over bondage because they almost refuse to survive in captivity. Every time we tried, the mountain cat retired to a was before we could learn anything, making it one of the least understood cats on the planet. And we still can't nail down exactly how many there are. But that's also because they're constantly getting confused with the Pampas cat. The Pampas is like a video game character with multiple colorways. You ever experienced the anarchy of playing Smash Brothers with 8 Kirby's?
Yes.
Studying the Pampas is pretty much the same, since science says there might be 5 different species of them. Might be because some argue there's only 1 species of Pampas cat, just with 7 subspecies too, but most agree on 5 flavors of this feline. Like the mountain cat, we don't know that much about a cat that often lives where it feels like you're breathing through a straw on a treadmill. Despite what you've heard, it's actually a lack of curiosity killing cats like the Andean or the Pampas. I'll throw another one at you, Joffrey's cat, named after some French dude, so more like Geoffrey. Another problem with being a house cat is people will pick them up thinking they're a house cat without a home, only to find out at the vet, which has to be annoying. It's kind of like snatching the vertically challenged off the street and then trying to put a grown man in a booster seat. To be fair, that's the black version. I promise you I'd make the same mistake. Joffrey's friend has also been called the salt cat, because they've been seen stalking places like the salt flats of Bolivia. It's one of the most common wild felids in South America, and their color actually changes depending on where, with Joffrey's flexing a leopard colorway in the north, but wearing a silver coat in the south. They've also been called fishing cats, and people have seen this pet-sized cat crossing raging rivers 100 feet wide. I put these 3 cats together because they honestly look like 3 stages of the same Pokemon. The ocelot looks like a Latin clouded leopard, so I stand them off principle, even though they have the eyes that knows something's coming and knows you can't stop it. Although given the chance, I'd probably let it happen. The ocelot's prey consists of anything that won't kill them first, including other cats. But there's one animal they seem to be friends with, and out of all the options they have, for some reason, they choose opossums.
Why?
Ocelots and opossums have been caught casually walking around together, and this wasn't just a one-time occasion. This has happened multiple times throughout the years. They even tested this by placing fabric strips with the scent of an ocelot, one with a pumas, and some random third, and the opossums overwhelmingly preferred Eau du Ocelot. We don't know what it's about, but I'm getting shades of badger and coyote. The Margays, like nature, copied the ocelot assignment, but changed a few answers. It's an anime-eyed paralysis demon to anything in its weight class in the trees.
Oh my god, those eyes are massive.
That can rotate 180 degrees, meaning they can free run through trees and cancel life subscriptions while hanging upside down. It's a mythical tree merchant that'll use psychological warfare against their prey, because Margays will imitate the sound of their prey to lure them out. One Margay was watched mimicking the cry of a baby tamarin, apparently well enough to convince the adults to stop what they were doing and investigate. This branch warrior is serotonin to anyone who isn't a bird or a monkey. But the cod is like boss music for depression. Also called the guinya, it's one of the smallest cats in the world, weighing about as much as a 5-pound dumbbell. Unfortunately, not everyone thinks they're cute. To Mapuche locals, the cod was an omen of famine, disease, and even death, and would be destroyed on sight. According to legend, the cod is immune to bullets and has a habit of decapitating chickens to drink their blood, which led to a lot of farmers smoking them out of principle. Even though cod do them a service with free rodent control. Luckily, the cod's reputation has gotten better throughout the years. And last and certainly not least is the tiger cat, also known as the oncilla. It's like nature heard me hype the clouded leopard and the margay just to mess around and give me both. When they're not stalking the jungle floor grocery shopping, they're shacked up somewhere in a tree. It was once thought to be another version of an ocelot until they were eventually determined to be their own thing, and in 2013 it was discovered that there's actually 2 separate species of tiger cat, but in total it's said there's under 10,000 tiger cats left, with deforestation speedrunning the decline. And just like that is every small cat.
That's just how it be, dude.
Holy f***. This will be by far my longest video.
Slightly.
Only cats could get that out of me. Cats are in this
Like,
weird place where they're so
30-ish
normalized,
minutes.
many don't realize how close many of them are to only existing in past tense. But one way to help is just by acknowledging them. And I've done my part, so that's gonna do it for this video. Look, I'm tired, bro, so we just gonna run through this.
Okay.
My book, my Patreon.
No book,
If you feel
Patreon.
like it, I don't really need it. Drink water, call
Yeah.
your parents, cat, and I'm gonna
Cat.
see y'all in the next one.
Me.
Hey, babies.
Cat.
You got 500,000 people that
Look at all the
love us.
peoples.
What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there's 500,000 people that love you. Yeah. See, thank
Oh man, I love kitty cat.